Hello! We're now in Chapter 7 of Management 449. Congratulations on just having completed your assessment. We're now in the second half of the course, Module 2, which by now you're getting used to thinking strategically. You're getting used to the vocabulary, so it tends to get a little easier from here on out. So in Chapter 7, we're talking about international markets. This is going to be an emphasis. What you want to really lead into in Chapter 7 is 7.2, 7.3, and 7.4. So a little bit different in Module 2. There's this much information in the chapters, and I'm going to focus on this much information for the assessments and for the topics that we'll cover in class. Again, for Chapter 7, it's 7.2, 7.3, and 7.4. In 7.2, you're going to be reading for differing market conditions across countries. There's the diamond effect. So you're going to be looking at demand conditions, factor conditions, related and supporting industries, and firm strategy. You're going to be thinking about why firms enter different types of international markets, including thinking about political and economic risks, looking at shifting exchange rates, and looking at cultural differences. There are 5 modes of entry, and you are going to have a figure pop up right before you. This is 7.3. Now you could again memorize the 5 modes of entry, or you can think about them along a risk-reward continuum. So on one axis is risk, and you've got high versus low risk. On the other axis, you've got reward, which is low versus high reward. So the low risk, low reward mode of entry is exporting. Okay. Now exporting, just in a nutshell, it's low risk because you don't even operate in that country. You're seriously just exporting the business. You're exporting the products. You're sending it overseas. Someone else takes title and ownership in a different country, and they do all the sales and marketing over there. Not as much reward. You're making a smaller margin maybe. The next one up is licensing, a little bit more risk because a lot of times you're giving another company permission to use your product or your services. One of the biggest licensing arrangements in the world is that of the NBA, jerseys. Even the NFL, again, jerseys, although football's kind of a uniquely weird American sport. Other places play soccer, and America isn't big in soccer as much as it is in, for example, Southern Latin America or in Europe. So licensing is a very great way to enter an international market. There's less risk, not as much reward. And then franchising, a la Starbucks. Starbucks at one time was going for global world domination, and that was largely through a franchising strategy, which means that they gave coffee shops permission to use their model of business. They gave them permission to use their brand. It's a little bit riskier because they could erode your brand in a different country, but the reward is a little bit higher. So as you know from finance, your risk and your reward should offset each other. Next, higher in the risk reward payoff strategy is your subsidiaries. So you could create a subsidiary in another country either through acquisition or acquiring another company that already does business there. It's fast because you don't have to set up operations. You can acquire a different company that's already there. Or you can do a special type of subsidiary action, which is called Greenfield. So Greenfield, imagine just a green field, right? You got to build your company from the bottom up. You got to build the structure, the building. You got to get the capital, the equipment, hire the people. It's a very costly and time-intensive investment. So a lot higher risk, greater reward because then you'd own it. And then finally, the riskiest with the highest reward is strategic alliance. Now in a strategic alliance, you're forming a contract with another company. That's risky because you can't control the other company. They could just say, no, we don't like you anymore. We're not going to do business with you anymore. And you've